Okay, so I want you to picture something for a second. It's 7:30 in the morning. You're at your kitchen table.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't met your boss yet. No big calamities have struck. The house is still standing. You're just, sitting there, maybe having some toast, looking at your family.
Sounds peaceful enough. On paper, at least.
You'd think so, right? But according to the source we're covering today, for a lot of us, that moment before anything has actually gone wrong is the absolute peak of agitation.
It's the calm before the storm, but the storm is already brewing inside your own head.
Exactly. You're getting worked up over the blinds that won't close right, or the way your partner is chewing their cereal, which suddenly sounds like a cement mixer.
Or the kids are doing those same little tricks you've seen 1,000 times.
Yes. And you're already at a 10 on the stress scale, and the day hasn't even properly begun.
It's a painfully relatable image to start with, and it just sets the stage so perfectly for what we're diving into, because the real question is, why? Why is our baseline state agitated? Why is the default setting stress before the first email even lands?
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are tackling a really fascinating video called This One Thought Can Change How You See Life Forever, featuring Sadhguru. And look, I know that title sounds like total YouTube clickbait.
Oh, for sure. Change your life forever.
Usually that just means, drink more water or something.
Right. We usually steer clear of those because they can be a bit fluffy. But this one is different.
It really is. It's surprisingly dense. It's not just think positive. It's more like a structural breakdown of how the human machine works, or maybe how it malfunctions. It challenges the very way we process the world.
And that's our mission for this deep dive. It's not about just cramming more information into your brain. We all have enough of that. The source makes this really specific distinction between mind and awareness. And we're going to unpack the argument that our standard way of thinking, using our intellect like a tool to dissect everything, might be the very thing making us miserable.
I have to say, the analogies in this one are they're top tier. We've got teddy bears, we've got knives, flickering flashlights.
They really help make it concrete.
They do. But let's go back to that breakfast table. Why are we so wound up when nothing bad has even happened?
Well, the source argues it's not because your life is actually wrong. It's not the burnt toast or your job. It's because of the nature of the mind itself. If you let the mind run the show, it creates agitation no matter what's happening outside.
Okay.
But to get why, we have to look at how we grow up, or I should say how we mature.
Right. And this brings us to the teddy bear. This was one of my favorite parts because it frames spirituality in a way I just hadn't really heard before. It compares it to puberty.
It's a provocative comparison, but it really holds up when you think about it.
So walk us through this. You've got a child. They love their teddy bear. It is their entire world. They sleep with it, talk to it. It's the most important thing in the universe. But then they turn, say, 14. Puberty hits. And suddenly, that teddy bear is in the trash.
Or at least shoved way in the back of the closet. It's no longer the center of gravity in their world.
And the source makes this great point. You didn't have to force the kid to throw it away. You didn't sit them down for a lecture on the uselessness of stuffed animals.
Right. There was no commandment, thou shalt not hug the bear. It just happened. It happened naturally because their whole perspective shifted. Their chemistry changed. They matured.
Okay, so how does this apply to us adults? Because I feel like I'm still clinging to a few things. Are you saying my career is a teddy bear?
In a way, yeah. The source says that just as hormones bring on physical maturity, something called awareness can bring on a kind of spiritual maturity. And when you hit a certain level of that awareness, all the things that we adults obsess over, eating, relationships, work status, getting stuff, the corner office, they suddenly start to look like the teddy bear.
That feels a little insulting, though, doesn't it? To call my mortgage and my relationship struggles petty things?
It does sound a bit judgmental at first, but hear me out. It's not calling them petty to diminish them. It just means they aren't ultimate. You don't renounce them because they're bad.
You just see them differently.
You just see them for what they are. They don't satisfy you in that deep way anymore. You outgrow the need for the toy to give you your identity. You can still play with the teddy bear, but you know it's just a stuffed animal.
Okay, that makes more sense. So it's about attachment, not abandonment. But most of us don't really get there, do we? We get stuck in what the source calls the rigmarole.
That's such a great word for it, the rigmarole. It just implies all this activity with zero progress.
The hamster wheel.
Exactly. The source describes life as this endless loop. You go through the compulsions, the longings. I'll be happy when I get the promotion. I'll be happy when I get married. I'll be happy when I retire for 50 or 60 years. And at the end, you haven't moved an inch internally.
Ooh, that hits home. You're running a marathon, but the scenery never, ever changes.
And it is harsh, but it's meant as a wake-up call. The source talks about the pain of ignorance. And usually people only realize they've been stuck on that hamster wheel when they're on their deathbed.
But if you're lucky,
Or maybe if you're just paying attention, you realize it while you still have time to do something about it.
and that's that aha moment where you look at everything, your job, your social life, your breakfast, and you just ask, why the hell am I even in this?
That question, why am I doing this, is the beginning of the whole spiritual process. It's when the big things stop looking so big.
Yeah.
But here's the problem, and this is where we get into the mechanics of the mind.
Okay.
When we try to find a way out of the rigmarole, we usually try to use our intellect to do it.
We try to think our way out of the problem. We buy a self-help book, or we journal, or analyze our childhood.
Exactly. We engage the brain. And according to this source, that is a trap. It's basically physically impossible.
Wait, hold on a second. We hear that advice all the time, right? Look inward. Turn your mind inward. Introspect. Are you saying the source thinks that's bad advice?
Not just bad advice, impossible advice. And this is where the biological argument comes in. And I love this because it's not mystical, it's just anatomical.
Go on.
Think about your senses. Your eyes look outward. Your ears hear sounds from the outside. Your hands touch external things. The source says our biology is 100% outward bound.
So we're built to interface with the world, not with ourselves. We're output machines.
Correct. And the mind simply follows the senses. The mind is a tool equipped only to go out and collect data from the world. So when someone says turn your mind inward, you're asking a tool to do something it was never designed to do.
The source was pretty funny about this and said, if you try to turn your mind inward, you'll just frustrate it until it drops dead.
Because even when you think you're looking inward, you usually aren't.
Explain that. If I close my eyes and I think about my soul or something, isn't that looking inward?
So the source argues, no. If you sit there and think about God or the soul or truth, what are you actually doing? You're projecting an image. You're recycling a concept you learned from a book or from church. And where did that book come from?
The outside world.
Exactly. All concepts are external. The source even mentioned that in almost every culture, God is up or sometimes down. But it's always directional. It's always away from you.
So we're always looking away because we don't even have the faculty to look inward. Our tools are all outward bound.
So, yeah, using the mind to find inner peace is like trying to use a telescope to see your own optic nerve. It just doesn't work that way. You can't see the thing that's doing the seeing.
And this leads us to the central metaphor of this entire deep dive, and honestly the one that stuck with me the most. The mind as a knife.
This is a brilliant analogy for the intellect. And it explains why, really smart people are often the most miserable.
Okay, let's break this down. The source says, a knife is only useful if it's sharp. Nobody wants a dull knife.
True. You want a razor-sharp intellect, for sure.
But what is the only thing a knife does? It cuts, it divides, it separates this from that.
And that is the function of the intellect. Discretion. Knowing the difference between a nut and a bolt or, food and poison. We need it to survive. You need to know that a door is different from a wall or you're going to have a lot of headaches.
Right. Survival requires division. But the problem comes when we try to use that survival tool for something else. Like the source talks about yoga, and I think we need to clarify this.
Yes.
Because in the West, yoga pretty much just means stretching in expensive pants.
Yeah, we've diluted the word quite a bit. But in this context, yoga refers to its original meaning, which is union, to make everything one, to experience the oneness of existence.
Ah, I see where this is going. You can't stitch things together with a knife.
Bingo. You cannot achieve union or a sense of connection with the world by using a tool that's designed to cut things into little pieces. And the source argues this is why intellectual people are often the most confused and lost people on the planet.
That's a pretty bold claim. You'd think the smartest people would have it all figured out.
But follow the logic. If you have a very sharp knife, a sharp intellect, and you identify with it, what do? You use it on everything. You dissect your job. You dissect your relationships. You look at your partner and you list their pros and cons. You analyze why they said good morning in that specific tone.
You're just cutting them up.
Literally. The source says people even use it on their own gurus, their own spirituality. They slice it up to see how it works. And what happens when you dissect a frog to see how it works?
The frog dies.
Exactly. And the more you slice, the smaller the pieces get,
Right.
until there is no place to stand. You've dissected your whole life into these atomic particles, and you're just left with a pile of debris. You know everything about life, but you can't feel life because you've minced it.
That is a terrifying image. It's like we're trying to find meaning by cutting things open, but the meaning is in the whole, not in the parts.
Precisely. The mind is for discretion, knowing good from bad, right from wrong. But awareness is different. The source describes awareness as an explosion into oneness. It sees things exactly as they are, without the judgment of good or bad. It doesn't cut, it embraces.
Okay, so if the mind is a knife, what is all that chatter we hear in our heads all day? The source calls it bits and pieces.
This connects right back to the idea that the mind is just an accumulation of outside data. Because we gather information in fragments, a bit from school, a bit from our parents, a tweet here, a headline there, our internal dialogue is fragmented too.
The source threw out a statistic here that I loved. It said 99.9% of the minds in the world speak absolute nonsense in a continuous dialogue.
It's hard to argue with that when you really actually listen to your own thoughts for 5 minutes. It's just noise. It's a radio that's stuck between stations.
But then what about those moments of inspiration? You know, those aha moments. Isn't that the mind working well?
Well, the source uses another great analogy here to kind of debunk that.
Yeah.
The flickering flashlight.
This was the part that felt a little bleak to me. I like my aha moments.
We all do.
Yeah.
But imagine you are trying to walk down a dark path. You have a flashlight, but it's defective. It flicks on and off, totally randomly. Can you use that for guidance?
Not really. I mean, you'd probably trip over a root the second it goes dark.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Those flashes of insight are inspiration, but they are not guidance. You can't rely on them to navigate your life because you don't control them. You can't make the flashlight turn on when you need it.
I see.
The source says that true clarity flows from beneath the mind or beyond it. It's a continuous stream, not these frantic little sparks of mental activity.
So let's just recap where we are. We've got a mind that chops everything up like a knife, creating a pile of debris. We have internal chatter that's mostly nonsense fragments. And we have a flashlight that doesn't work when we need it to. It's really starting to make sense why we're so agitated at breakfast. We're trying to navigate life with broken tools.
And we haven't even touched on the biggest trap the mind sets for us, the trap of opposites. This is where the knife does the most damage.
Oh, this is the God versus the devil argument. This part was really interesting because it challenges a very deep-seated cultural belief.
It really does. The source points out that in so many religious frameworks, we have God and the devil as opposites. But logically, if two things are opposites, they have to be equals.
They're just players in the same game, two sides of the same coin.
Right. And usually we code God as the spiritual or the up there, and the devil as the physical, the body, our instincts, the down here.
So we end up in a war with ourselves.
Yes. If you view the physical, your body, your needs, your biology as the enemy, as the devil you have to defeat to reach God, you are in a state of constant internal conflict. You try to kill or suppress your own nature.
And the source says this leads to becoming crippled, damaged, distorted. You aren't liberated, you're just broken.
Because you're rejecting half of your existence. You cannot be whole if you're trying to slice off the physical part of your reality again using that knife of the mind.
Yeah.
You can't cut your way to wholeness.
So what's the alternative then? If we stop cutting, if we stop fighting ourselves, what's left? The source used a Sanskrit word, rit.
Yes, rit or ritambara. It refers to the cosmic basis of life.
Okay, that sounds very abstract. I need you to help me visualize that.
All right, the source didn't use this specific metaphor, but think of it like a movie screen.
A movie screen. Okay, go on.
You go to a theater, a movie plays. Maybe it's a horror movie with monsters and blood. Maybe it's a romance with flowers and music. The audience cries, they scream, they laugh, they judge the characters. He's the hero, she's the villain. That's the mind. That's the knife.
Okay, I'm with you.
But behind the movie, there is that white screen. The screen supports the horror movie just as much as it supports the romance. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't say, I refuse to show this villain because he's evil. It just holds the light. That is writ. That is the foundation.
So awareness is becoming the screen instead of getting lost in the movie.
Exactly. It's moving from the knife, which says this part of the movie is good, that part is bad, to the ground that supports both. The foundation includes everything, good, bad, ugly, beautiful. It just is.
Sounds peaceful, but
Yeah.
I mean, getting there seems to be the hard part. The source talks about this dance people do, one step forward, one step back.
This is the warning about indecision. The source says if you take one step forward and one step back, you can spend your whole life moving, but you'll die in the exact same spot you started.
And he made that funny point. It's actually worse than just walking backward.
Right. If you walk backward, at least you're going somewhere. You see the scenery change. You might fall off a cliff, but hey, it's a new cliff. It's a new experience.
But the hesitation.
The hesitation is the killer. I want to be spiritual, but I also want to win the rat race. Or I want to be aware, but I love my drama. That just keeps you stuck in frustration. You're using up all this energy, but gaining no distance.
So what does this all mean for us? For the listener driving to work right now, the source gets pretty urgent towards the end.
It really does. There's this tendency to think, oh, I'll deal with the big questions later, next year, when the kids move out, when I retire. The source is basically saying, no, if you value your life, the time is now.
Because that pain of ignorance is already there.
It is.
Yeah.
We just distract ourselves from it with Netflix or work or scrolling. The argument is that you need to let that pain of ignorance, that feeling of, I don't know why I'm here, become intense enough to trigger a real longing to know. You have to stop being satisfied with the teddy bear.
And you have to stop thinking the knife is going to help you put the teddy bear back together.
That is a terrifying mix of metaphors, but yes, essentially correct. The tool that got you here, the intellect, is not the tool that gets you there.
So let's bring this all home. We've covered a lot. The mind is a survival tool, a knife, meant to cut the world into manageable pieces. It's not designed to make us happy or whole.
Right. And spirituality isn't about learning new things or following rules. It's a maturity. It's outgrowing the toys of the ego, just like a 14-year-old outgrows their childhood games.
And most importantly, trying to force the mind inward is a trap. You can't see the back of your own head with your own eyes.
Correct. You have to drop the identification with the tools, the body, and the mind to experience what is beyond them.
You know, the source ended with a thought that I'm still chewing on. It distinguished between seeking truth and becoming truth.
Yes, that was profound. We tend to think of truth as some destination. I'm going to find the truth, like it's a hidden treasure chest under an X on a map.
But the source says truth isn't a conclusion, it's just what remains when you drop all the nonsense.
If you drop all your limitations, you are truth. That's the line. It shifts the responsibility. It's not about searching the world for an answer. It's about stopping the behavior that obscures the answer. It's subtraction, not addition.
Which brings us right back to the knife. Maybe the answer isn't to cut deeper, but to just put the knife down.
I think that's exactly it.
So here's a question for you to mull over today. If you dropped all your nonsense, all the social conditioning, the judgments, the internal chatter, the need to be right, what would actually be left? Is it possible that the truth isn't something you need to go out and find, but it's simply what happens when you stop using your intellect to slice up your own experience?
It's a scary thought for the mind, because the mind wants a job. It wants to keep cutting. But it's a liberating thought for the self.
Definitely. And hey, tomorrow morning when you're sitting at that breakfast table and you feel that agitation rising because someone's chewing too loud, just notice it.
Notice the knife trying to come out and cut.
And maybe, just maybe, leave it in the drawer. Thanks for diving in with us.
A pleasure as always.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.